Good evening. My name is Kurt Freskowski. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. Welcome to the Thursday, June 22nd, 2023, 6 p.m. meeting. Meeting is by Zoom, open session, in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the OML, open meeting law, are temporarily relieved from the requirements that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom, meeting ID 860-877-1519, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.mass.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. We have a call to order. Andrew or Jen?
I am here.
Good. And Jen?
Yes, I'm here.
Very good. And I, Kurt Freskowski, here. So we have three members of the committee here: Andrew Seeley, Jin Hong, and Kurt Freskowski. I believe we have a quorum. So we will go ahead and begin with the meeting. Andrew, do we have the meeting minutes from March 29th available?
Probably no. I'm gonna say no.
Okay. The main focus of this meeting is the reserve fund transfers, and one of the things we'll discuss later in the meeting is meeting schedule. So when we do that, we'll come back about talking about our meeting schedules and reviewing and approving minutes in the future also. So very good. I'd like to go ahead and move on to the main business this evening, which is reserve fund transfers. You'll see here, I just noted the 5 items we'll be looking at, and then I'll pull them up on the screen in a moment and we'll go through them. So we've got accounting services, 10,000, something from the assessors for 20,400, fire department, 20,000, 22,800 for IT. And the accounting tax title, 2,800. So what I'll do is everyone able to see the first item here on the screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we will then ask the person presenting those to speak on those, and then our committee will discuss and vote on that, and also ask for any public input. So, okay. All right. So the first item on the reserve fund transfer is for accountant services, and Carrie, I believe you're going to speak to this.
Yes, this is basically for auditing services that occurred for the transition of the accountants from the prior accountant to me. Basically, it's just to do an extra auditing of the books.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this occurred this year because we don't really necessarily have this happen every year because you don't have a change of personnel of the accountant every year. Is that right?
Exactly. Correct.
Okay. So that's why this is not budgeted, because you didn't anticipate Fred leaving.
We did not. No.
Okay. Got you.
And any other inputs? Questions? I'll just sort of mirror Jin's question. Pauline, I see your hand. Give me one moment. That this was due with the transition where we actually, I believe the standard operating procedure is that we have to stop and do an audit because of the change in accounting. Is that correct, excuse me, Carrie?
So I can speak to that. So yes, oftentimes when you have a transition, especially after a long time accountant retires, you will choose to do an additional and a more detailed audit. And then with Fred being here for only a few months, that also added to the necessity to do that.
Okay, very good. So,
Thank you,
Paul-
Barbara.
Sure
Yeah.
thing.
Thank you. Pauline?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Barbara may have at least answered part of my question, so thank you for suggesting Fred's departure was unexpected, with which I agree. But as far as the original budgeting process for fiscal year 2023, which we began in late 2021 and was completed in April of 2022, we knew at that time that Miss Gabry was retiring. I'm not exactly sure of her departure date, but it was sometime in early 2022. And Miss Tierney's contract was executed with an effective date of March 1st, 2022. So I don't understand why at least the anticipated audit for that change wasn't budgeted as it should have been. Mr. Aponte was hired, I'm guessing sometime in early fiscal year 2023 and then departed several months later. So I understand that component of it. But the earlier audit necessity by Lisa's departure and you're taking over her position, Barbara, that should have been in the budget. And in my view, does not constitute an unforeseen expense.
Barbara, may I answer this
Oh,
for a
sure.
second? Pauline, for one thing, Fred was hired in April, and Lisa departed in April as well. So it was basically the end of fiscal year 22. Correct. That is correct. Fiscal year 22. And the reason why we are doing the audit is because there was a lot of financial software changes in account structures. And we wanted to make sure that when we started the new fiscal year, that our financial reporting was done accurately with the Department of Revenue.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, just let me add to that. So that's what I was getting at when I meant from transitioning from Lisa to Fred, is at that time there was a lot of change of account structures, and that was not anticipated.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Pauline?
Pauline?
Thank you. I appreciate both comments, Carrie and Barbara, but Lisa gave her notice long before March 2022. So it was known at that time an audit would be needed because of the change in accountant. As Mr. Pomprian said at the selectmen's meeting the other day, whenever there's a change in the accountant, an audit is necessary under state law. And that's fine. I understand it. I followed this stuff for 30 years, so I understand the process. What I'm trying to understand is why it wasn't budgeted. And as a result of that failure to budget, it doesn't constitute an unforeseen expense. Everybody acknowledges they knew Lisa was leaving.
Mr. Chairman,
May I finish, please?
Well, go ahead, Pauline, finish. And
Thank
then
you.
I'll-
Just a few more words. And in the event this is not an unforeseen expense, and I'm only talking about the transition from Miss Gabry to Miss Tierney, that then should go to town meeting as a prior year's expense for the inability to budget. The reserve fund is not to augment budgets. This audit failure, or this failure to budget, does not comport with the fire department sick pay, that doesn't comport with some of the other transfers that are coming before you. I'm only focusing on that element, not anything that happened after the fiscal year began. I fully understand that. However, an audit in fiscal 2023 for Mr. Aponte's change to Ms. Cooper's taking over of Mr. Aponte, that I agree with and I understand. It's the other part of it.
And this is the expenditure that is for that.
Mr.
Pauline,
Chairman,
this-
Mr. Chairman,
Carrie, one moment.
Yes.
Pauline, can we move to Robert's question?
Oh, absolutely. I said what I wanted to say. I I will reserve the opportunity, if you'll allow me, to say anything in response. But I will just add one more thing. None of the supporting documents of Ms. Cooper's and Ms. Tierney's explanation are on your agenda or included in the selectmen's packet. So I'm speaking off of what I know, not what was provided as public documents.
Very good. Robert?
Mr. Chairman, members of the FinCom, good evening. So to clarify a couple of things. So a reserve fund transfer, just so we're all on the same page, statutorily requires approval by the select board, which unanimously approved this last Tuesday at their meeting, and your approval as well. And there are two criteria. One is unforeseen expenditures or extraordinary. Extraordinary defined as something outside of the normal scope of things. This reserve fund transfer for $10,000 is for the FY23 budget, which was approved by town meeting in May of last year, May of last year, 2022, which then went into effect on July 1st of last year. At that time, yes, we knew, as Ms. Cooper mentioned, we knew that Ms. Cabri was leaving and she retired and left after the town meeting on May the 12th of last year. What we didn't know when we put this budget together is that the new finance manager was not going to last. Mr. Aponte started, was hired, and then he separated from service with the town by November of 2022, almost 3 to 4 months into the budget process. Yes, there was an accountant, there was a transition audit done on recommendation by the auditors, but I will add, and I'm really not going to get into people's personal performance, but there were some fundamental issues that are the purview of the administration that also had to be corrected through this audit, which they were corrected. So additional work had to be done. So respectfully, nobody had a crystal ball when the budget was set for FY23 that Mr. Aponte would not finish his service, that he would leave in November. There was no way to know that when the budget was set, nor was there no way to know at the time that additional audit work had to be done. So respectfully, the $10,000 that Ms. Cooper is seeking for this audit was unforeseen and was extraordinary.
Thank you, Robert.
I will ask, so essentially the amount we're looking for is, and I direct this to Carrie and Barbara and Robert if needed. Was the audit work necessary for Lisa's transition already foreseen?
No,
Okay. No.
and that was already clearly stated by Ms. Cooper, Mr. Chairman, that Ms. Cabri tendered her notification of resignation back in November of 2021 to be effective in January of 2022. And then she stayed on in a consulting capacity until the town meeting of May of 2022.
Okay. So what I'm just trying to detail then is
So
that,
this audit
finish,
has
Robert.
nothing to do with the transition of Ms. Cabri to Mr. Aponte. It has to do with the transfer of Mr. Aponte to Ms. Cooper.
Okay, that is what I was trying to get the
Right,
detail.
4 months after the budget was already set.
Okay, so this is to cover the transition from Fred and then also the new accountants that when we saw the budget this year, we saw that there was some new line items and what have you that were done, and that's
Correct.
that was part of it also.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's detail I wanted. Andrew, Jen? you have any questions or observations?
No, I propose we approve this.
Okay, so are you making a motion then, Jim?
Yes, I motion to approve this transfer.
I will second. So,
Mr. Chair, I hate to interrupt your motion and vote, but my hand is up and I would like to make one follow-up comment and ask a question.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, Pauline, I didn't realize your hand was up, was raised again. I thought it was still.
No, I appreciate that. It's hard sometimes
I
to
have to
tell.
get used to the hands in Zoom.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, I understand.
Very
And believe me, it's not the only person that has gone down that road. I don't always see them myself. So my comment is, thank you for the explanation regarding Mr. Aponte. That makes perfect sense. My question is there a memo documenting all this for the public record? Or could there be a memo for all of this documenting the public record? Because none of this was said at Tuesday's selectmen's meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Robert.
So first of all, yes, Ms. Cooper can provide that accounting. I would like to also add that at the select board meeting, there were no questions regarding the RFT, and if there had been, we'd be happy to answer them
Very
as
good.
we have tonight.
Good, thank you. So may I before we continue with the motion is Carrie or Robert, would you be willing to put together a memo addressing these, and we can add those to the record?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Robert through you. Carrie would be happy to provide the accounting and a memo for the record.
Very good. Good. That's good to hear. Thank you. So we are at Jen, you had made a motion to approve the item. I second that. All those in favor, and we'll do this by roll call since we are on Zoom. Andrew?
I guess I vote aye.
Aye. Okay. Jen?
I
And Kurt? I vote aye also. So with 3 votes aye, the item is approved. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next item. Whoops. Which is from the assessor salary. Is this first, excuse me, assessor personal transition. And who is going to address this?
Mr. Chairman, this is Robert, the town
Yes.
manager. Between myself and Ms. Tierney, the finance manager, would be happy to address this one. The town assessor, Ms. McQuaid, is away today and unfortunately couldn't be here as she was before the select board last Tuesday. So regrets there, but we would be happy to explain and answer any questions. The assessing department underwent a transition as well. And again, going back to the category of unforeseen and extraordinary, you will see the amount requested for salary, wages, software, and services. The amount requested $20,400, of which that, and I guess keeping consistent with what was asked of Ms. Cooper, if the FinCom would like a memo with the accounting for your record, and for the, we would be happy to provide that. The transition in this department also, the long time assessor, Mr. Hogan, also retired last year. And then we went and hired, through the hiring process, hired Ms. McQuaid. There was, when she was hired, there was, Mr. Hogan did stay on a consulting agreement through the transition on some of the components involved with the position. So of this 20,400, 15,000 of that is, if you will, unforeseen personnel wages from that period. The balance of it was some additional consulting work that was needed as the new assessor made some changes with software and some of the consultants. Again, we don't generally have a transition in the assessing department. It had been 27 years since there's been a transition, so it was an unforeseen time. Unfortunately, there was this overage, which is the 20,400, and through you, did we lose Kurt?
Yes, we
Oh.
lost the chair.
Oh.
Let's hold on.
Hold on a minute.
Here he comes.
I'll back up.
Oops.
May I speak?
Jen, just let's wait. We got to wait for Kurt so you have a quorum.
Ah,
Hi, I apologize. My computer hiccuped. I'm coming in by phone now.
Okay.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, I didn't
Okay.
realize till a moment that we had lost you. So just to conclude, the 20,400, again, transition in the assessors department. Of that 20,400, 15,000 was personnel cost impacts, as we had the new assessor and the retired assessor on a consultant capacity during the transition. And there were some software and service changes that the new assessor made, and some changes, upgrades there that necessitate the RFT. And
Okay.
through you, I don't know if Barbara has anything to add or if I missed anything.
No, I think you covered it, just that there was some consultant changes and price changes.
Yeah.
As every department has incurred this
so
year.
I would like to ask a big question. May I?
Yes, Jen?
Okay. Again, just for my education. So how big is the assessor's office budget overall? I kind of like from reading the list that I was a little, I was wondering if the previous person was only paid 6,000 something and the new person was paid 26,000. So I was wondering, that might be my misunderstanding. So I was trying to get an idea, this unforeseen expense as a proportion of the total expense, how big a portion it is.
Mr. Chair, can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
Right, this fiscal year, the budget is 206,000. And no, her personnel, I mean, I know that Linda was hired, there was for her salary alone that was budgeted, but was 87,566. However, we did keep the previous assessor on as a consultant, and his consultant services, because he was still on the payroll, was taken out of the same salary line.
Okay. Did you budget this in the previous fiscal year? Did you foresee this transition?
We did not foresee the transition of the. Hold on, I'm sorry.
We didn't foresee
the-
the prior assessor staying on in a consultant form.
Oh,
that
I
long
see.
of a
That
time
we did
period.
not foresee.
I see. So were you expecting, were the previous assessor a long-term employee of the town?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
27
and
years.
27 years.
I see. Were you expecting the new person to come and just be able to fully work independently without any this transition period initially? What sound like if you didn't foresee this this overlap period, then you were hoping that a new person could just hit the ground going, but then you decided that it was better to keep the previous person for a few months. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. Yes.
Is that common in municipal government to have an?
So through the chair to Jin's question.
Yes.
Not always, like I mentioned, you do have transitions, but this department, the previous assessor was here for 27 years. It was sort of an unforeseen transition in that sense, and we don't anticipate that moving forward. And as Barbara mentioned, some of the changes that were made by the assessor that were in the best interests of the department and so forth, some of those consultant costs, they were cost increases after they had been set.
Thank you.
Jen, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Pauline, do you have a question?
I'm trying to unmute. Same request, I believe Robert might have said this when you were not connected, but
Yeah.
there will be a memo outlining what was explained here today because nothing was presented Tuesday and nothing is in your meeting packet tonight. But I also want to throw out some information I learned as a member of the Finance Committee years ago. And this could go both ways in this situation because I'm guessing this $15,000 needed is to pay for Mr. Hogan's consultant services, although it was paid out of the wages salary line from what I heard Ms. Tierney say. But is Inspector General regulation, which you can Google and look up, or I will look for my copy, or you could go back into the annals of the Finance Committee minutes and find it, that states a reserve fund cannot be used to pay wages. Plain and simple. It goes into more detail, but it's a very strong regulation. I remember Ms. Gabriel and I requested it, and I think we got it from DOR legal counsel at the time, who referred us to the IG regulation. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I think you need to look at that and be guided accordingly. I'm not going to interfere with anything tonight because I can't produce the document, but that's what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts law is regarding reserve funds. The Inspector General says you cannot use a reserve fund to pay wages. That is a budgeted item at town meeting. So I'll just share that with you for your future reference. If I can find the document, I'll make sure you get it.
Oh, good, thank you. It was good to know. Robert, would you have any input on that particular question, if I may ask?
Yes. So first of all, Mr. Chairman, the RFT is to make the budget whole before July 1st. This is not being used towards wages. It is being used, as mentioned, part of it is driven, it's by consultant services, which is permissible. And the previous assessor was in the capacity as a consultant, not an employee, as the RFT has also mentioned. So 15,000 of that was for consulting services, if you will, and then the rest was for other costs related to software and so forth.
Okay, so that, very good. I appreciate that detail. Any other questions before we go to a vote?
Do we not ask people when they're going to retire?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Robert.
To Mr. Seeley's question, we can't, as I'm sure you can appreciate, you can't just ask people when they're going to retire. Sometimes they do give us notice, though there's no requirement that they have to. So that's why sometimes when there are these transitions, why they're extraordinary, unique, a lot of work has to be done.
Thanks.
Okay. Very good. I make a motion that we approve the reserve fund transfer of 20,400 for the assessor. Do I have a second?
I'll move in second. How about that one?
Okay. Roll call, Andrew.
Aye.
Aye. Jen.
I,
Aye. And this is Kurt. Aye. The reserve fund transfer request for 20,400 for the assessor is passed. Thank you. Next item, I just wanted to interject quickly. Thank you for putting up with my Comcast hiccup. When I was working every day at 3 o'clock, Comcast would hiccup. It seems like they're doing it at 6:30 now. So apologize for that. So moving on to the next item, we have a reserve fund transfer request from the fire department for $20,000. Chief Johnson, will you be addressing this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
As I'm requesting $20,000, and this is due to significant amount of time that was lost due to 2 on-the-job injuries and 2 members that were out with extended time. And that time frame for those 4 members was anywhere from 3 to 8 months. So the members that were out on sick time are both back. And the good news is both the members that were out injured on duty, one had been since October and one since January of this year. They're both due back to full duty on July 1st. It's also worth noting that during that time, we knew the overtime budget was taking a significant hit, and the union agreed with hiring a call department member to stop at least overtime on one shift. So that was a significant savings to the department, upwards probably close to $30,000 in overtime that we saved, that we were just paying that member at straight time to work one of those shifts. And also, I did submit a memo, I believe that was in the select board packet on Tuesday, stating the reasons as I just did. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you folks if you have any.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Do we have any questions on this item? Observations, notes?
I appreciated the memo, Chief. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Do we have a motion on this item?
I motion to approve it.
Okay. I second that. Vote by roll call. Andrew,
Aye.
Jen,
I,
and Kurt, aye. The reserve fund transfer for 20,500 for the fire, 20,000. Let me repeat that again. $20,000 for the fire department is approved. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good. Thank you, Chief. The next item is for IT, $28,000. Cindy, I believe you're going to discuss this.
Yes, thank you. So the IT department had a couple major unforeseen incidents and requirements this year. The main one being in April, we were informed that due to cyber liability regulations, we need to upgrade the town's email system, as well as install additional endpoint software on all of our computers. We have over 100 computers and approximately, it changes every day, a little over 200 emails. And so we need to set it, we're working on a project to get those things done so we're in compliance. And the second thing that happened was in January. Uh-oh, did we lose him again? Nope, there he is.
Nope. Sorry. I thought I didn't realize my screen share didn't carry over when I came back on. So I apologize. So here's that memo you put together, Cindy.
Yeah, so we do have new requirements coming up and we're working on that now. And also there is a conversion cost associated with changing over our email to Microsoft. More to come on that to all employees and board and committee members soon. And we're looking at about $10,000 to get that done. And the other thing that happened in January, which is totally unforeseen and horrible, was the town hall server lost 3 disk drives. Took us down 4-5 days, I believe. We had plenty of good backups, but what we found was restoring all of that data was not the most efficient way to do it. So we invested in some software and a little bit of hardware to, put procedures and hardware in place so that if this happened again, we could be up and running again quickly. And the other thing is the IT director, myself, retired in October, and I'm currently consulting. And that all of those things together on the FY23 budget add up to approximately $28,000.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Any questions, observations, notes on this item?
This is Jane Hong. So maybe Robert or Barbara could answer. So do we have a new IT director?
Mr. Chairman, through you, we do not yet, Jen. Ms. Knox is continuing to work in a part-time consulting capacity, and we are in the process of. We have been in the process of hiring for that position. It has been a challenge to get a qualified municipal IT person.
Okay.
I don't remember our the budget that we passed at a town meeting recently. What was our budget for the IT department?
One moment, I'll just pull that
Bear with
up.
me. So the total budget for fiscal 23, or are you looking for the budget for the fiscal 24 coming, Jen?
For the I guess for our say current fiscal year, which probably should be 24, right? Well, I guess 24 doesn't start until July 1st, right?
Right.
Yeah, I guess in that sense, I'm probably looking at the year that's closing, because I'm just trying to get a sense of how big this is relative to the overall budget, so that
Okay, so the fiscal 23 budget for the full IT department was $187,903.
I see. So this is about 10%.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that
Just
sounds about
20,000.
that sounds about right, because
You had 180 something, so you're asking for additional 28,000, right? So slightly more than 10%. So is this normal? Do you kind of because IT is one area where there are a lot of technology issues that could be unforeseen. So do you have RTF for this item often?
No.
Jen,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so of the 28,000 that's being asked, about 10, keep in mind, was it 10,000 of that? There was a power surge in January that Ms. Knox mentioned that took out the server. So that was a completely unforeseen.
Yeah.
And then this email 2-point authenticity security requirement for the town for July 1st was just presented very recently to the town.
Yeah, I understand both issues are kind of unforeseen.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering that in the future, when we budget for IT department, if we should budget some kind of some room for the unforeseeable event, because I feel that technology is one area where some other possibilities of things that things could happen that's unexpected. So but this budget that of about 180,000 something, does that include the personnel cost or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right. How many full-time employees or all employees, full-time plus consultant, whatever, does IT department have?
One.
Oh,
Yep.
I see. Okay. All right. And do you foresee the new hire would cost less or more? Because usually you hire a younger person and they'll probably end up costing less.
Through the chair, to Jen's question, yes. So the FY 24 budget that starts on July 1st, that budget factored into the IT position at a lower rate, because Ms. Knox has been with the town for over 10 years. The next person would start at a lower step in that position.
Understood. Thank you very much, Robert and Barbara.
Sure.
I just have a real quick question, Cindy, more just clarification. I asked the other night about the MFA, and I was surprised we hadn't had MFA in the past. And the other thing about that hardware failure, it's nice that you detailed. So at no time was our backup data ever compromised. The backup was secure. It was just a matter of getting that backup data back onto the live systems.
Yes. So the good part is the first thing we looked at, I'm sorry, my other phone's ringing. First thing we looked at was a cyber incident, and we immediately were able to rule that out. It was definitely a hardware failure caused by a whole lot of power fluctuations, where it must have hit it right in the middle of a UPS cycle. So in losing 3 disk drives all at the same time is very rare. They weren't old, and we keep our backbones pretty modern. And hardware wise, we were able to recover quickly. The long process was restoring all of the data.
So was the backup data on those 3 disk drives, or was that elsewhere, the backup data?
Backup data was elsewhere. What we do is we replicate throughout town locations. So our town hall server replicates a backup copy down to the fire station, as well as a local USB drive and another USB drive at the fire station. So we have 3 really good backups of all of the data. So I really wasn't worried about losing data. It was, like I say, the problem was the amount of time. It took, I think, 5 days before we were fully back up and running.
Okay, good. I appreciate that detail. The backup is the key.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or do we have a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Andrew. I second that. Roll call vote. Jen? Hi, Jen, for this item.
Sorry, I just turned myself. I just muted myself. Will you? And I step off for a second.
So we had a motion and second for the IT reserve fund transfer of 28,000.
Okay.
First, we're doing the roll call vote, and your vote.
I will vote aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
And this is Kurt, vote aye. So the reserve fund transfer request of 28,000 for IT is approved.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
good. Thank you. And then moving on to, I believe, the last item. Yes, we have a reserve fund transfer request for 2,800 for tax title. Barbara, are you going to address this?
Hi, Kurt, through you, absolutely. So after the beginning of the first fiscal year, at some point, we did have a unexpected, unanticipated price increase for our tax title services. And then we always do try to anticipate the needs for our residents and our tax title properties, but we did have some unexpected requests for some payment agreements that I had not anticipated.
Okay. Any questions, observations, notes on this item? I hear none, so I will make a motion that the committee approves reserve fund transfer request for 2,800 for tax title.
I second it.
Yeah. Okay. Me too. How about that?
So, roll call vote, Andrew,
Aye.
Jen,
I,
and this is Kurt, I. So, the reserve fund transfer request for 2,800 for tax title is approved. Very good. I believe these are all the reserve fund transfer items. Very good, thank you. The next item on the agenda is meeting schedule. And this is just very general. What I just wanted to throw out, this is specifically to the finance committee members. As we go forward into the next year, or this year, excuse me, into July, August, and the upcoming fiscal year, what would be the group's feeling for a good night for meetings and schedule?
I guess I would like to ask Robert, what's recommended usually, for finance committee during summer? How often should we meet? I'm happy to meet whenever needed.
Mr. Chairman, to Jin's question, and I'm going to defer to the FinCom. It's what you decide in your as a committee of town meeting, whatever you decide as far as meeting. I will just offer this just for informational purposes.
Yeah.
Generally it's been 2 times a month. The select board, for example, and some other boards and committees, they go to like a summer schedule. In the board's case, they will meet once in July and once in August. Of course, if there's a reason to meet or an emergency or they need to meet, they would meet. And then they go back to sort of their schedule in September of meeting twice a month. And there are some other boards and committees that do that go to like maybe 1 meeting a month in the summer. There are others that keep their standard schedule, whatever that may be, through the summer. So it's really up to what you as the FinCom want to do.
So in your experience, because you have a lot of experience, I'm just trying to learn, are there much like a town related matters for us to discuss over summer?
To the chair, what I would suggest, we don't, obviously, these were the end of the fiscal year RFTs. You don't anticipate anything on the RFT front. I think one of the things that we should start to talk about is the budget schedule. And what I'm getting at is generally the select board would like to set the budget schedule. So all of the deadlines and so forth. And we definitely, the FinCom should be a part of that and have input on that. We want to get that schedule set no later than the beginning of October, but we'd like to start to discuss it, and we'll discuss it in August. The other issue is the special fall town meeting, which will be the 4th Monday in October. The select board will generally open the warrant for that meeting either at the July or the August meeting. So I think the FinCom, we probably also would like to talk with you, Barbara and I, about updates to the financial policies that the buy board has been working on, but we'd like to, have the FinCom review those and offer insight on that. So I'm not trying to avoid your question, but it's up to what you as a committee feel that you need to do in terms of your schedule. The summer is generally quieter across the board.
Thank you very much, Robert. Those are all very good information. That's what I needed to sort of think about if we meet what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
So you mentioned a lot of good points that we can definitely discuss. Okay, I think that those justify we meet say once in July and once in August.
I will say that is what I am hearing also. And this is what I was sort of hoping on this item, is that we would just sort of begin to get a feel what we can do now that we've had one year with this committee sort of under our belt, so to speak. And then how we can make sure that moving forward that we keep doing a good job. So thank you for your observations, Robert. And so Andrew, do you have any input, observations?
That seems fine to me. I would like to, we can go a couple of months before we actually figure it out, but the rapid fire catch-up meetings last time were not that great. And I think we wanted to cover more stuff, like the school budgets and stuff this time around. So it would be good to plan for that.
Yeah, I think we should use the summer slower time to educate ourselves so that we will be better prepared when, the items do come in front of us, that we, are informed.
Good. Okay, this is excellent. So I just made a quick note, so as Robert and Jen and Andrew. And what we're leaning towards is for July, a meeting in July and a meeting in August, and to start discussing budget schedules, special town meeting, and then importantly, what our meeting schedule would be as we go into September and into the full meetings needed in December through January, et cetera. And then the other thing I had thought of was the FinCom has members assigned to various boards, and we can review that in July and August also.
Yeah.
I like my boards.
Yes, I think, but I think this is in July and August will be good. And what I was going to do is add these items to the agenda, say for July. And what I will do is communicate with the committee some ideas for the July meeting. So some of the rough ideas that I just threw out, and then we can crystallize that into an agenda for July. What meeting night would be good for July and August? Is it Wednesday, Thursday, live, Zoom? Any feeling on that?
I'm here entire July. I'm only away for a week in August, and I'm fine any night.
Okay.
I think, well, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays
Okay.
are preferable, but we can probably make anything work.
Okay. So what I was just looking real quick, and I'm not going to cast this in stone right at the moment, and I will send some emails to the committee, and we can, but I'm looking maybe the 3rd week in July, which would be the 17th, Monday, Wednesday, 19th, 20th, Thursday, for a tentative meeting sometime during that week. And again, I'll just set that week aside, July 17th, and then we'll firm up the date in the next 2 weeks. Would that sound appropriate?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, Jen. Okay, Andrew, good?
Yep, I had one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Is I double checked and I had sent the minutes for the March 29th meeting back in March.
Ah,
So we can approve the minutes.
Great.
okay,
Andrew, do you have the minutes? Can you share screen so that we can take a look before we approve something
Well,
new? I totally
I-
forgot.
I sent them to you on March 29th, Jim.
Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, we can also do it.
Something
We can
that
also
happened
do
a few
it.
months ago, you expect me to remember?
And if you don't want to approve the minutes now, we can just do it the next meeting.
No.
Well,
Let's approve it. I just totally forgot, but I think I was at that meeting, so it should be fine. Yeah.
You were. I also have to double check what was there, but I did send them, and you all said something. So
yes, Andrew, one thing I'm going to throw out before I make a motion is that I would like to thank you for the excellent job you have done with the minutes. They've been-
Absolutely. I strongly second that motion.
Yeah. So,
Thank you very much, Andrew, for keeping track of what we have done.
so I would make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 29th, 2023.
I second the motion.
Roll call. I'll start with Kurt. I, Jen,
I
Andrew.
aye.
Very good. So the meeting minutes for March 29th are approved. Okay. Do we have any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion that we adjourn.
all right. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will move and second your motion.
Very good. All right. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for all your time and input. Have a good evening, all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.